Chaplain Welty here, the Tattoo Chaplain. And today we're going to begin a new series on what God has to say about avoiding burnout. We hear a lot today about the subject of burnout. There's emotional burnout, there's relational burnout, but this isn't a new issue. In fact, we can find many examples all throughout the Bible of people who had experienced burnout in one way or the other. And one of them can be found in 1 Kings in chapter 19. And it's here that we find the story of Elijah. Now, to sort of set the scene, back in 1 Kings in chapter 18, we read where Elijah had experienced a great miracle from God. Basically, there had been, I guess you could call a God contest on Mount Carmel. And God, in showing his power, sent down fire from heaven, and the whole nation turned back to him. They killed all of the false prophets, and it was a once-in-a-lifetime miracle. There was a big emotional high because of this that took place for Elijah and the people. Now, fast forward just a little bit in 1 Kings in chapter 19. And we find the wicked king Jezebel, who gets mad and she puts out a death threat on Elijah. And she sends a messenger to tell him that, hey, Jezebel's planning on killing you. Now, here it is. I mean, really, it was just a few days after this enormous miracle where the whole nation had turned back to God that Elijah finds himself running for his life across the desert, hiding in a cave. And it's there that he cries out in fear, God, just please kill me. Just get it over with. What's going on here? Well, this is a classic example of burnout. After every mountaintop, there's a valley. After every high, there's a low. And with every success comes stress. The good news is that the Bible tells us that Elijah was just like us. He was a human being. He wasn't supernatural. God used him in some miraculous ways, but he was just a normal human being. So we can look at his life and we can see the causes or the signs of burnout and also the cure for burnout. Now, you may not need this message today. If you don't, congratulations, but you may someday. I'll guarantee you that there's probably someone that you know that's going through an emotional burnout right now. This is one of these messages that you can hold on to so that when you go through a dark day, you can go back to it and see exactly what it is that God said to do. And so today we're going to begin looking at the signs of burnout. What are these signs of burnout? Well, we see them in the life of Elijah. And when you see them in your life, you know that you're headed in the wrong direction. So what's the first sign of burnout? Well, the first sign is this. We depreciate our worth. We depreciate our worth. We put ourselves down mentally. There's a little recording that plays over and over in your mind that says things like, I'm nobody. My life doesn't matter. I'm insignificant. I don't count. I don't have any value. And when this happens, you know that you are on the fast track to burnout. In 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 4, it says that Elijah came to a broom tree, sat down under it, and prayed, take my life. I am no better than my ancestors. Now Elijah here, he finds himself comparing his life to his ancestors and saying, I'm no better than those guys. That tells us one of the very first causes of burnout is comparing. When you start comparing yourself to somebody else, you're setting yourself up for emotional burnout. What you tend to do is compare your life with the accomplishments of other people. You look at the things that they've done and say, well, I'm just not good enough. You compare your problems and your trials with what seems to be the relatively easy lifestyle that you think someone else is having. But if they're honest with you, you'll discover that nobody's life is perfect. They're hiding their own problems. It may appear on the surface that they've got it all together, but once you peel back all of the layers, you'll discover that things aren't always what they appear to be. You may compare your talents, your gifts, your abilities to someone else and think that yours are insignificant when compared to their superstar quality, the superstar quality of the person next door or your coworker. You look at them and say, wow, I really wish I could be like them. But the worst thing you do is when you start comparing your expectations with the way that life really is. When you start looking at the way that life turned out in comparison with the way you expected it to be, you're setting yourself up for burnout. God says, don't do this. Don't depreciate your worth. When you do this, you start criticizing yourself. Let's be honest. You are your own worst critic. Your worst critic lives in between your ears. Your brain keeps telling you things like, I must, I should, I have to, I ought to, I've got to. And then when it doesn't happen, you move on to feeling guilty about it, guilty about all of the things that you haven't accomplished. Have you ever had so much on your to-do list that there's just absolutely no possible way to get it all done? But then, when you don't get it all done, what happens? You feel guilty. And when you do this, you begin setting yourself up for burnout. So be cautious on this. Don't focus on the accomplishments and successes of other people and think that you must measure up or surpass what they've done. When you do this, you find yourself on a never-ending cycle of comparing yourself to this person, to that person, and you never find true happiness in who God created you to be. Listen, don't compare yourself to others, because when you do, you start to lose confidence in who you are. Well, that's what I have for you today. Let's have a word of prayer together. God, I pray for every single person that may be watching this video right now. God, I pray that you would guide and direct their lives in all things that they do. Bless their lives richly, bless their families, watch over them, and meet their needs. I pray. And now may the Lord bless you, and may he keep you, and may he make his face to shine down upon you, and may he give you peace. Again, I'm Chaplain Welty, the Tattooed Chaplain. Until the next time, God bless.